I can't talk this. I cannot talk today. What's going on YouTube? This is your boy Alex, and today we're talking about this week, March 16th through the 20th, and it's kind of been a choppy market, and it's been a choppy week of trading for me. And a little bit of that is because the market is so crazy right now. It's super volatile. But the other thing is kind of, there's something that I've been struggling with that I really want to focus in on, and I really want to improve in my trading. So let's get right into it. This week we have seen another market-wide halt. The overall market was down more than 7%, and it's been another really crazy week. And especially with this virus, things are not looking better in Vancouver, Washington, or just in Washington State overall, and that's because that's where I live. It seems like we're getting more and more cases, which is really unfortunate, and hopefully soon we can find a cure for the virus, and hopefully this will kind of blow over. But overall, I traded fairly well this week, except for a couple days, and I've kind of been starting to see a pattern or mistake in my trading, and that has to do with my mentality going into a Friday or the weekend. Generally, I have a pretty solid week up until Friday, and then on Friday I have the mentality of I need to trade so carefully, and I do not want to lose any money because I don't want to hurt my weekly P&L. I want to finish the week really strong. And what ends up happening is that usually on Fridays I tend to be taking very bad entries and exits and risk too much, and I'm not able to really focus in on a trade, and I'm just kind of very emotionally trading. So what I think I'm gonna do is I'm gonna take smaller size and maybe risk like $300 or $400 because $300 or $400 won't hurt my week that bad. Yes, it's disappointing, but it's not as bad as a $600, $700, or $800 loss. And being able to take that loss is very important because you don't want to break your rules and then end up holding stubbornly and having a bigger loss. I'd rather end the week with a small win, but protect myself from a huge loss if it ends up coming to that. Anyway, let's get right into this week's recap. So here's my week of March the 16th through the 20th, and here are the trades that I took on these days. As you can see, I've taken a lot less longs and scalps like I was talking about last time. I didn't want to just burn myself and commissions by taking a bunch of these trades that I'm just not very good at. So I decided to just stick to what I know. Anyway, on Monday I had a $154 loss, and that was, I think that was still trying to trade a bunch of these scalps, but again, a lot less than last week. And on Tuesday, a $60 win. Again, this was probably an afternoon trade or something. On Wednesday, $946 win on GNPX. Thursday, $824 win on VXRT. And today, on Friday, $92 loss on IFMK. And this was a very, very stressful trade, and I will get into that. But overall, on the week, I'm up $1,584, and on the month, I'm up $51.74. Anyway, again, as usual, I'm not going to go over my scalps and longs because there's quite a bit of trades and probably don't even remember what I did, but we'll start with Wednesday on GNPX with the $946 win. My entry on GNPX was at 286, exit 259.2 for a 9.37% win. Okay, so here's the daily chart of GNPX. The day before, on the 17th, it had a huge run from about $1.70 all the way up to $3.80. And I was just looking for a short into resistance the following day. So if we go into the intraday chart, here was the day before. Again, just a huge grind up all day long. And when I saw this gapping down in the morning, this is the trade that I wanted to take. I was just looking for a spike in resistance and failure. After this morning spike failed, I was waiting for a bounce, and I was really, really annoyed with this trade because it basically dumped from 315 all the way down to 275 without really any kind of bounce. And this small bounce here just wasn't big enough for me to take a position, because if I got in at 3 and I was risking 315. You know, 5% risk, yeah, but it just wasn't. I guess I could have taken a starter here, but it just wasn't big enough balance for me to get in. And unfortunately, right after that, I just kept dumping and dumping. So I was really pissed that I missed the move, but I just told myself to wait. There's most likely going to be some kind of bounce for me to get into. So that's what I did. I waited, and then I got in here when this bounce started failing. And this was annoying because it kind of just held this level for a while. And but once it failed, my goal was 250 area, and once it got down here, I covered. So for like a 9% win. But overall, this was a good trade. Again, it was kind of rough in the morning. I wasn't really sure if I would get an entry or not, but thankfully I did. Thursday, traded VXRT for $824 win. Entry was at 2018, exit was at 185.5 for an 8% win. Here's the daily chart. Basically, this was just a bounce short. On the previous day here, I think this was on Tuesday, had a nice bounce from $1.20-ish to about $2. And I was just looking for a short into resistance, and on the following day, it did run to $2.85. So here was the previous day. It ended up gapping up that day and then kind of just selling off. And I was just looking for any kind of failure and a bounce to get into. It opened up and at about 2:30, and it panicked all the way down to $1.80. And again, this was really tough because I thought I missed the move again. I was like, man, this is such a big panic. It didn't give me any opportunity to get in earlier, but it did bounce about half an hour into the open, and I shorted into this bounce, and then I covered half into this pull down to this support here from the earlier panic, and then I was going to hold the other half to hopefully cover about $1.50 area, but it rebounded very quick and kind of held this level for a while and then started testing this $1.90. I saw this kind of reversal, and I just got out here before this ended up squeezing right back up. So decent trade. However, the better trade was the day before, but I was already in a different trade, so but that's okay. And today I traded IFMK. Now, man, this was a tough one. I've been watching this for a while. It finally had its overextension yesterday, and it ran all the way up to about 280, and it came from like 50 cents or whatever. But what was tough, if we go into the intraday chart, is that this day here, I mean, it gapped up big, so that's why I just didn't really want to trade it then, but it gapped up and it was very choppy, but it did have a lot of room to make money either on the long side here into the spike or on the short side. But what was very tough is that this was pretty illiquid today compared to the volume it's been trading all of their days. This was kind of tough because, as you can see, it's just not really doing much. It was very choppy basically all day long, and I was looking for this spike, but I didn't want to get, I didn't want to short into any kind of strength because I wasn't sure how high it would end up spiking, but and I'm failing and I'm getting here in on this bounce. I wanted a higher bounce, but then I kind of started seeing it topping, and so I was like, whatever, I'm just gonna go full size here. Unfortunately, it recovered again and went higher, and so basically I just was down almost all day long until it finally ended up cracking here, and I still came out down $92 because of commissions. So my entry was on IFMK was 161.5, exit was 1608, which is like a penny game for a 0.43% win. What was so difficult is because I was having a hard time really like getting my head straight and allowing myself to take risk. I was very uncomfortable with the idea of losing today because I wanted to end the week strong, like I was talking about earlier in the video. So I still went in full size, and so that made me very stressed out in these pops. What I ended up doing was taking emotional covers. So if I had gone in with smaller size, then I got out half into this little squeeze, which is ridiculous because right after it ended up dumping. But my risk after this consolidation was $1.70, and I got out randomly like $1.67, half my size, because I was just so uncomfortable with cutting it at 170 because that would have been a like $600 loss or whatever, plus commissions, maybe 700, 800, and I was not okay with that. And because I went in with full size, I ended up cutting prematurely, not sticking to my risk level, which was $1.70 here. And the only reason I broke even was because I had scaled out the rest of my shares into this panic in a day. So the trade ended up doing what I wanted it to do. It just took a lot longer. It took all day, and I think that's because it was so liquid today. Traded only 2.7 million shares, and I thought it would trade like 5 million or something. So I thought I would get this move here at the open or near the open, but it never got that. Alright guys, that's basically a wrap up of my week. Hopefully I can have a strong week next week. So we'll see what happens next week. Again, want to trade very well, stay patient, and when I get to Friday, I want to make sure that I'm going to scale down a little bit so that I can comfortably take a loss if the trade does not go to plan. I'll see you guys next week.